always wanted to open a Christian buffet called God Helps Those That Help Themselves.
Best professional break you've ever had.
Conan wants to have a meeting with you. We've been looking for the guy to host the talk show. I thought to myself, I wonder who the guy is. I got there at 11 a.m.
Wait. You got there at 11 a.m. for a 4 o'clock meeting?
According to this pass. When I'm with you, my funny tuning fork vibrates. That's what he said. I drew a little tuning fork on the pass. That was like the break that led to every other break. It was love at first sight. We hung out that night, and then we stayed in touch.
Hey family, welcome to the show. Got a fun one for you today. Now coming up, we're going to introduce you to Tyree Moore. He's the founder of Soul Track Outdoors, one of the winners of the WW Wellness Impact Award. We'll have his story and more a little bit later. But first up, Pete Holmes is here. You know him as an actor, as a comedian, host of the best-known Pete Holmes Show, also crashing on HBO. And of course, he's got that awesome podcast, You Made It Weird. But most recently, he was announced as the star of a new comedy pilot for CBS. So we're gonna have lots to laugh at and laugh with. Here's my main man, all 6'6" of him, Pete Holmes.
The Carlos Watson Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance.
Hey, Pete.
Hey, Carlos.
Where are you?
This is my back house. This is like a little office area that I have. That's a sauna, if you want to mention it. A lot of people do.
Nice.
I have a 2.5-year-old, so this is my quiet room.
Are you in Los Angeles or where?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in LA. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You? Okay.
Is this a traffic city? Yeah. Who cares?
Best professional break you've ever had.
I was writing on a TV show on the Warner Brothers lot, and I was a stand-up though, too. But you can only really do stand-up on Conan like once a year. So I just done Conan, now I'm writing on the show. I get a call, they want me to come back and do stand-up on Conan. And I did. And the set that I did was about how everybody makes fun of magic, like literally like card magic and performance magic. But I think magic is the best, and I sort of ranted about like, what is wrong with you? This person's trying to delight you. Like, just enjoy it.
Magic is the only kind of entertainment where 90% of the crowd is trying to ruin it for themselves. Go to a magic show, just a sea of closed-minded, threatened dudes, just like, nope, no way, that ain't possible, mirror, some sort of mirror, you ain't sawing her in half.
Like, why are you trying to figure it out? Why are you trying to act like you're not amazed? Just like have fun, like life is fun. So Conan took notice that I was doing these bits that were not cynical and that were sort of like positive. Usually 9 comedians out of 10 will be like, screw magic, magic is stupid, you're a jerk for trying to trick me. And I was like, magic's the best, I love magic. So that made me sort of stand out. I didn't know at the time, but they were looking for someone to do a talk show that would come on after Conan. I'm glad I didn't know, but I was sort of auditioning for a talk show. I had just gotten out of a bad breakup. If you watch my first Conan, I'm like 280 pounds. The second Conan, I'm like 230. Like I'd lost all this weight. I'm glowing from a juice fast, and I'm just so happy to be there. And afterwards, I got a call that was like, Conan wants to have a meeting with you. And this is the driving pass. This says visitor guest pass. It's at 16 o'clock, so I guess that's what, 4 o'clock? I'm not good at that. I got there at 11 a.m.
Wait. You got there at 11 a.m. for a 4 o'clock meeting?
According to this pass. Look, you're not going to be late to the right. Conan O'Brien meeting. There's like a coffee shop on the lot. You can kill some time.
Right.
I've never noticed that before, Carlos. That is so funny. Anyway, I have this meeting with Conan. He always has been a hero of mine. I was 31 at the time. And I remember we just talked. He goes, I don't know what it is, but when I'm with you, my funny tuning fork vibrates. That's what he said. Meaning like, I just get the sense that you're funny. I drew a little tuning fork on the pass that day. That was like the break that led to every other break. The second meeting I had, he said, well, we're gonna go to TBS and say we've been looking for the guy to host the talk show and tell them we found the guy. And I had heard so little about it, I thought to myself, I wonder who the guy is. But they were talking about me.
I'm here with Pete Holmes. We're shooting the promos.
We're gonna do
We're going to be doing
We're
promos.
finding out that we have
Similar skill sets.
no chemistry.
Lacking.
We talk over each other.
It calms things down.
Mistake.
A lot of mistakes have been made.
We shot the pilot.
You have like that, like, I don't know if it's me, but you're so happy, sometimes it bothers me. It does. It's just like, all right, I get it. The sun is shining. Just take it down a little bit.
And that talk show, we only did 80 episodes, but that's how Judd became a fan. Judd Apatow watched that show, became a fan of mine. So when I pitched Crashing to him 2 weeks after the Pete Holmes show was canceled, he knew who I was. He had actually been on the Pete Holmes show. That was the big break.
I'll be a comedian. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Be fearless! We can do it! I believe in you! We can do it faster!
Our home is the training ground for her dreams policy. Insure carefully. Dream fearlessly.
Pete, do you ever see, there was a wonderful, years ago, there was an Eddie Murphy skit on Saturday Night Live where he dressed up as a white guy and he went into society and he basically said, I realize when white people are alone, they give each other things. And so he
gives them the newspaper for free.
Correct.
What are you doing?
I'm buying this newspaper.
That's all right. There's nobody around. Go ahead, take it.
You got the newspaper for free, went to the bank, they were loaning him money, the whole deal, what have you. And obviously there was a very famous book about this in the late 50s, 60s, Black Like Me, and kind of talked about what it was. Lots of work on this. When you're in that room with Conan or Judd Apatow, you know, those are white guys in the room who have a lot of commonality. We know that race matters. What happens that would surprise an Eddie Murphy if he were to come into that room? That's happening when white guys are in the room. That may not happen.
Green juice?
Do you know what?
No.
That could be happening.
Somebody might be offering a green juice.
100%, yes.
I think if I'm getting the essence of what you're asking, it's like, dude, I talked to Conan about what? We're both from Boston. Conan and I are both 6'6" white guys from Boston. So this isn't like a shameful thing, but human beings transact in commonality. So that's a currency that I had. I said I wasn't even trying to be funny. Chris Rock has a great quote. It's mean, but it's great. He said, do you think if I was funny as Jay Moore, I'd be on SNL? So he's pointing something out right there. If Chris Rock was my age and was not huge and had that meeting, would Chris Rock have been so comfortable that he wouldn't have even tried to be funny? I don't think so. That's where I'll call out privilege. I'm like, don't worry, just be charming, just relax. That's the voice of privilege. What I think, I hope, I certainly can't really be the authority to speak on this, is we're seeing so much more awareness of that. It feels like it's changing things. The way that I see casting happening, the way I see staffing a writer's room happening, I've never known it really the hard other way, which is like 12 white guys from Harvard. Every writer's room I've been in has been diverse because it's not just prejudice, it's a favoring of the familiar.
Interesting, as you say the word privilege, and as I think about it too, I think one of the biggest privileges also can be comfort in whatever way it shows up. Do you still love stand-up, and do you get nervous about it? And are you good? Are you great? Are you epic up there?
The only person I'm epic to is me. If I was in the audience, I would say that guy is epic. I can't speak to other people's experiences. I still have bad sets. I have people that think I'm absolute garbage, and I completely understand because we're all walking around in a very different experience. But if I was sitting in the crowd, I do laugh at myself on stage, but I would be like, this is what I'm talking about. And that's all I can do. So I'm epic to me.
Sabotage the date. Wait for a lull and just look at them and be like, oh man. This date is McDonald's.
You ever been on a date and you're just like, oh, you like dogs, I like cats. It's just not working. That's very much like an audience. I don't blame them, but I also don't blame me. We couldn't do it. I'm inviting you to laugh at what I find funny. If you don't find it funny, it's not gonna work. Brian Regan said, a comedian is like a musician, but his instrument is the audience. I add to that, sometimes the audience is out of tune. Sometimes they're drunk. Sometimes they're missing a few strings. You know what I mean? Sometimes they want heavy metal and you're a little too Lumineers for them. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I do still get nervous about it. And when they laugh, not only am I getting affirmation in my belief or solidarity, the people in the crowd that might have felt that way are feeling less alone. And it can be really, really beautiful, bigger than its parts. On the surface, it's just comedy, but what's happening is close to a type of healing, a type of redemption.
I would be as excited to see my cat as I would to see like John Stamos in my bathroom. Do you understand?
I really love that, Pete, so much. And it's so interesting that you say that. And I think about the ability, therefore, of comedy. I saw it as kind of opening up new conversations, but it's interesting that you almost went to the other side of it. You called it healing. You guys are the ones who actually can open us up in some new ways. You're making me think that Shakespeare had it right about the importance of comedy.
That's beautiful. The best part of being a comedian is hanging out with other comedians. There's no shame and there's no judgment. And if you want to talk about like diversity, comedy has introduced me to way more. Here's your gay people, here's your trans people, here's your black, your Hispanic, your Asian, whatever it might be. Comedy is like a wonderful it's not a melting pot, it's a chicken pot pie. Everybody keeps their identity. But you hang out. But your first identity is comedian.
I've always wanted to open a Christian buffet called God Helps Those That Help Themselves.
They told me you're in the Bay Area.
I am. Have you ever spent time up here or no?
I met my wife in San Francisco.
Oh, give me the story.
I met Val at Cobb's Comedy Club. The older I get, I will just slowly just start saying it was love at first sight. We hung out that night and then we stayed in touch. And she always tells the story that she couldn't believe that we stayed in touch because she thought, oh, he's this famous comedian or whatever. But I really liked her and we've been married for 3 years and together for 7.
Do you know what it was about her?
My fans are beautiful people. That is just true. And I don't just mean cosmetically. I mean like, if you're a big fan of mine, we have the whole spectrum of beauty. So Val was sort of a fan. It's important to note that she wasn't a super fan. It wasn't that sort of situation. She was excited to hang out. But Val is just a light, but she's also incredibly silly, incredibly kind, and incredibly smart.
All right, play Sliding Doors for me, Pete. What would have happened if she hadn't come that night?
I love a good Gwyneth Paltrow exercise. I love it. Let's play Sliding Doors. I feel like there's a very good chance we would have found each other another way. If we hadn't, and this is key, she would have been okay. I would have been okay. Let's not get grotesque and super codependent. She is Valerie, and she is Valerie without me. And I'm here to help. And I love her, but she does not need me. And that's important. We have a podcast that we do together. It's called We Made It Weird. And this most recent episode, we talked about that idea. It's not, like, love songs are very codependent. Like, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's just really from that part of us where it's like, I would die. Like, I don't want to close my eyes. I don't want to miss one thing. It's like, dude, get your own interest. I don't want to close my eyes. Like, I want you to be, I love that you love me, but I love that you love yourself. And I love that you take care of yourself. We have to have more faith in ourselves and we have to have more faith in the universe than being like, if I hadn't met you, I'd be destitute or I'd be lonely or I'd be this or that. Or, I mean, we'd be with other people and we'd be working that out and would be figuring ourselves out through that.
I'm high right now.
Okay, that is irresponsible.
It's Blue Dream, Peter. It makes you a genius.
Is this God's plan for your life? This is what he wants? Smoking blue dreams?
I know you obviously wrote Crashing in part about your first marriage.
Yeah.
Was that destined to break up, do you think, Pete?
Yeah, I do. All I ever did to my first wife was give her cupcakes. Not literally, but like I was just very nice to her. I was very kind to her. We laughed a lot. And I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what a full, grown-up, complex, rich human relationship is supposed to look like. I didn't have it to offer because I hadn't yet been complicated. I hadn't been wounded. I was just a sweet little baby boy. Then my wife does the unthinkable at that time. She has an affair, and she tells me she's leaving me.
My wife slept with somebody else today. I caught her today.
Oh my God, Peter.
Sweetest.
I thought you were going to be writing jokes at the library.
What are you doing? What? Who is this?
Oh boy.
Yeah, oh boy.
Go write some jokes.
So that really uprooted the whole system.
She told you?
On the show, I walk in on them because that's funnier. But she really just sat me down and told me.
So if she hadn't told you, you wouldn't have known?
Yeah, so there was a period where it was happening and I didn't know. And during that period, I thought I was dead. Like literally my working theory was I had died and I was in some sort of purgatory because she felt so distant and she felt so strange. But it was the furthest thing from my mind that she would have an affair because all I ever did was give her cupcakes. I didn't yet understand that things can end. You can break up with someone and love them, or you can break up with someone and think they're a nice, good person.
What's the best advice you've either gotten or given about how to dream fearlessly and bring those dreams alive?
The butterflies that you get when you think about it, or maybe the dreams that you might have that are sort of nervous dreams, that's all part of it. You talk to a lot of people about how they manifest their dreams, and that's a beautiful thing. How many of these stories include these crushing humiliations? We think we want just the feeling of the killing. You want the heightened sensation of nerves. In fact, the more of that you can have and own and be honest about, the better it'll feel when it goes well, if it goes well. It's not personal. I'm not garbage. I'm not funny. Sometimes you have to be like, okay, I do maybe have to work on that bit. Maybe it's not the best bit. But I don't take it as personally.
Pete, do you mind if I try a little rapid fire thing with you? Who's your favorite comedian of all time?
Brian Regan.
I like Pop-Tarts. But I'm gonna lay off because they're insulting. They have directions on the box. Like if they weren't there, would somebody like put the box down? What? How do I get that goodness in me?
Last time you were scared.
My wife and I were driving home from Bakersfield and we were crossing the Grapevine. It's like a mountainous hill. And there was all this snow, like way more snow than California gets. So we were just driving like 2 miles an hour uphill surrounded by cars. And every like 5 minutes, one of the cars would just like skid out, white knuckling it. My baby at the time was pretty young. I now have blankets in the car. I have water in the car because of this. I have like flares in the car because of this. But I was like, it's a really humbling to be like, I am at the mercy of my car's ability to stay on an icy road. And that, I think, is how a lot of people feel in life.
If you hadn't made it as a comedian, what do you think you would have done?
Well, I was going to be a youth pastor.
I like to think that there are millions and millions of different universes, each slightly different from the last. And this universe, the one we're all in currently, is the only one where I'm not a youth pastor. Does that resonate with you? I shouldn't be on a fancy stage right now. I should be in a carpeted gymnasium with an acoustic guitar with a rainbow strap, just like... Who wants to rap about the Lord? Let's do this.
Interesting. What would your last meal be?
Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, and I don't even eat meat. I used to do a bit about that where if I'm going to eat something, I want it to unsettle my stomach. So when they inject me, I will fill the room with a fart that could only be interpreted as you for killing me.
That's terrific. I love that. Pete Holmes, you gave me a bunch of good ideas. Really nice to meet you. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Mucho gusto, Carlos. Thank you for having me.
I loved hearing his philosophy, the depth of where he's willing to go with you. What did you think of that? What, like the philosophy that he was spouting, especially in the first half?
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
You know, I really liked the conversation, and it had various layers for me. I think a little bit like our boy George Lopez. He was in a contemplative space, and he had a lot that he wanted to share. But it also makes me think, if I were president, I would have comedy night once a month. And I would just have comedy clubs and insist that you go to a comedy club where there are gonna be people who you don't normally talk to. Because if we all got along and we all laughed a little bit and had some food, probably make it, I'm not gonna pretend like that's gonna fix everything that needs to be fixed, but you might engage someone differently.
You paired him, and we keep talking about these, like, who we should put with who to make life more interesting for that other person. Sean Penn needs to be with him.
Oh.
Because ego-wise, if they got together and just kind of worked things out, that imbalance would spark in both of them something completely different.
Hey, that was Pete Holmes. I really hope you enjoyed him. What a thoughtful, interesting guy, a big thinker, comedian. Really does make me think that maybe part of what the country needs in this really transformational time we're in is frankly more comedy shows. I know that sounds simple, but I really believe it. Laughter's good for the soul. All right, listen, now it's time to shine a spotlight on another WW Wellness Impact Award winner. Today, it's all about Tyree Moore, the founder of Soul Track Outdoors, which seeks to connect people of color to the outdoors through activities like hiking, climbing, paddling, and biking. For more on his organization and the man himself, my new friend, the former mountaineer, Tyree Moore. Hey, Tyree.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Really nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Tyree, tell me, what is Soul Trek? For people who don't know, what is Soul Trek exactly, and how did you actually decide to start it?
Soul Track is an organization that I founded 3 years ago here in DC. So we're a nonprofit organization in the region that connects communities of color to our public lands and green spaces. And so we do that through a variety of different ways, primarily through service initiatives. So we'll do things like cleanups, trail maintenance initiatives, anything to sort of give back and maintain these spaces that then curate really amazing, positive recreational experiences or community experiences for us, or better yet, become a bridge between our community and just sort of the amazing green spaces that exist here locally, in hopes of really just creating a community of stewardship. So a community that really takes care of these environments, but also that genuinely enjoys and takes advantage of these spaces that are free to us, that provide so many beneficial physical, emotional, mental benefits to the community.
Tyree, how did you get into outdoor work and adventuring? Because again, you're from the big city, so I don't necessarily think about outdoor trekking.
I was 12 years old. I signed up for a summer camp at my middle school that took me out to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. You know, I had never been on a plane before. I had hardly left my neighborhood. We sort of landed right in the middle of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which, if you don't know what Jackson Hole is, it is probably one of the sort of premier, sort of prime examples of like the great outdoors. It's tall mountains, huge plains, wild animals everywhere. It was just sort of a very immediate like transition and just like huge amount of exposure all coming at one, 12-year-old kid from Washington, DC. And from that experience, I was able to camp for the first time. I was able to carry a backpack, climb, do all of these things I had never heard of. I had never sort of even thought about doing. It was like another lifestyle for me that I was able to sort of really completely throw myself into, that allowed me to like no longer be the very comfortable self that I am here in the city.
What do you think it is about you that is okay being uncomfortable?
I think I have a naturally competitive spirit, and the outdoors really forces you to really challenge yourself, challenge your thoughts, challenge your emotions. I can tell you firsthand that there's nothing like overcoming your own personal challenges versus an opponent. You really feel like a much stronger person. You much feel like you've really accomplished something when you're able to talk to yourself or like get yourself through an obstacle. It becomes a thing where you really sort of find therapy in certain spaces. And I think that people find it in different environments. And I think for me, I grew up in the hood. I grew up in very chaotic situations where it was very few opportunities to sort of really step away and like, process a lot of those situations, living through that trauma that I had normalized in a lot of ways. And I now am like constantly trying to expand with that, my reality or like my view of the world.
What an interesting notion you have about all the different places that we might be able to find therapy, including in the outdoors, sitting under the stars, that might be part of an opportunity. Hey, tell me this, how did you come to find out about the WW Wellness Impact Awards?
One of our board members suggested it because it was just like a really natural alignment. It just made sense. It was a great opportunity to sort of work with WW around just like, you know, the benefits that we sort of work through around both physical, but also just like mental with incorporating nature. For us, we just sort of really lean into the work that we're doing and feel very adamant about it. So it's one of those things where I felt really good about that case that we made. And so it ended up working out.
When you bring this up in conversation with someone new in Wyoming, in South Dakota, in other places, and you're going across racial lines, and I assume sometimes you're going across generational lines as well, and for all I know, you may be going across political lines. What has happened? Has it been an easy conversation? Has it been a charged conversation?
It's been all of those things, right? Being a part of Expedition Denali, which was the first all African-American climate expedition. We did that in hopes of like really sort of spreading this message of inclusivity, being on that and being around other Black outdoorsmen and women who have been in the space. They educated me very quickly, like, you know, this is bigger than us. That resonated with me because I was very alone in that moment. Like that was my first time even seeing people in the space that have been there. It was like very validating for me because I was doing a lot of these climbs. I was working in this space, but I was always alone.
Fast forward a decade from now, what would you love to be true about Soul Trek?
I would love for Soul Trek to sort of be seen as a pulse for the black and brown community and sort of the environmental space, just really as a touch point for everyone to sort of come together around and be seen as a home, like where they can sort of be innovative, create initiatives, sort of really be thought partners, and really sort of figure out continued ways to just sort of really integrate our culture, our way of being with the environment and with the outdoors.
Tyree, thank you so much for the time. I love who you are. I love what you're doing. You taught me something today, so I'm grateful to you. That notion of where we can find therapy and give nature a chance, those are gonna stay with me. I appreciate the work that you're doing. I don't know that you're gonna get me on the side of a mountain anytime soon, but I'm glad you're up there.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the time.
Hey, that was Tyree Moore. My thanks to him and Soul Trek Outdoors. Of course, everyone at WW for making this happen. I absolutely love the Wellness Impact Awards and all the good people that WW has held up. And like that, we're out. At least out for now, but be sure to keep watching, keep liking, keep subscribing, and we'll see you again soon. Hey, tune into the Carlos Watson Show. It's like no other. You're gonna enjoy it every weekday on YouTube.